Hey beautiful people, so you just got your first medical school interview invitation and you are so excited. You're also pretty scared. Coming out of college, a lot of us don't have that much experience actually going into interviews. Maybe for some of you, this is the first interview you've ever gone into. But I'm here to tell you not to worry and that it's super nice, it's super easy, and in fact, it's actually kind of fun. The first thing, dress tastefully, and I suggest classically. I understand a lot of you have a lot of artistic inclinations, and so too do I. However, I would suggest that you dress in a more classical fashion. So for dudes, that oftentimes means just wearing a tie, your typical suit, typical pants, typical regular dress shoes, not covered in crazy designs, crazy logos, clashing patterns. You could do a lot of colors as long as they're tasteful of a tasteful color palette. I did have people in some of my interviews with that, like rocking the shoes, a little bit of ankle skin showing, and I think that's fine too. For women, you're gonna wear something isn't showing too much skin. Unfortunately, all the dermatologists are like, boo! You're gonna wanna dress classically as well. If you're gonna wear a skirt, I think it's down to the knee is the general recommendation. There were women in my cohorts that were wearing a suit with a skirt that would go down around their knees, and regular classic shoes. I didn't see anybody wearing sandals throughout the procedures. I didn't see anybody even wearing short sleeve dress shirts, even if it's hot. It was always long sleeved with a blazer over it or nice dresses. So this is typically what I saw. I have heard medical students specifically talking trash about people that were wearing like big Prada logos, Chanel logos, or this, that, or the other thing. So I'd avoid that. Next, number 2, be respectful, and be respectful to every single human being you meet. This should be obvious. You are becoming a doctor. If you are not respectful to every single human being that you meet already, then go do something else with your life. Please, there's so many doctors who are mean and we don't need any more. Straight up. Or maybe during this video, you're having a sudden life event where you're like, wow, I'm gonna be nice for the rest of my life because Brian said it. Brian said doctors need to be that way. Yes, please do that. You're gonna wanna be nice to every single human being you meet. You're gonna meet janitorial workers, random students that open the door for you. You're gonna be interviewed by medical students. You're gonna be interviewed by admissions staff. You're gonna be interviewed by the financial aid. You need to have some endurance with it. You're gonna be interviewed by doctors and surgeons and this, that, and the other thing. You need to be nice to all of them. You need to ask how they're doing. Find out how their day's been. A lot of them are pretty busy, especially the doctors. They're gonna be like, interview's gonna start and they're gonna be like, all right, let's get this done. At least that was my experience. You're still gonna wanna be kind, nice to them, even if they're straight faced to you. That's kind of a test they put on sometimes. They'll put on a straight face for you and they'll test whether or not you're gonna be like, like this is obviously kind of a contentious situation. They might even push you a little bit and see if they can kind of get you to like argue with them a little bit. Honestly, they're kind of testing you a little bit. They want to see if they can put up with you for 4 years, especially the financial aid officers and the administration. They're going to want to know that you're the type of human being that they can put up with for 4 years. So if you were to be doing that, you would want to put someone through a test where you're like, okay, does this person seem like somebody I could deal with for this length of time? Do they seem kind? Do they seem understanding? Do they seem logical? Do they seem cool? Do they seem like they're going to freak out? So beyond just being a doctor, they're gonna have to deal with you. Next thing, be yourself. And I know what you're saying. You're saying, Brian, first you told us we gotta be nice people, and now you're saying be yourself. Well, I understand that. But again, if you're not nice, please go away. You have spent your entire time during this application period presenting yourself, and this medical school is incredibly excited to get to know you. If they weren't excited to get to know you, they wouldn't have invited you. Best thing that I've ever heard in this process of getting an interview and preparing for my interview is that I am not controlling this process. So don't take your interviewer and drag them through whatever you want to talk about. If they ask you about your vacation, you tell them about a vacation you've gone on. You don't say,
oh, I went on a vacation to Aruba, but I went on it for only 2 to 3 days so I can get back to my school and study all the time. Like, I'm going to be a wonderful doctor because I study all the time and I don't care about anything else, and that's the story about my vacation.
Right? It's like they want to know about your vacation, you answer their vacation. They also want to know you're a logical human being. So let them lead you. It's like going on a hike that somebody else has already gone on before and they're taking you on it. You don't need to think about the twists and turns. They are already prepared to take you on them. So just follow the flow, little fishy. Just go along the river. It's really easy and it's actually fun. That's the other thing a lot of people don't tell you is interviewing is actually a good time. Get psyched for it. It's fun. You're meeting a lot of really intelligent, cool people just like you. You're gonna recognize that, these are a lot of really people that you could vibe with pretty easily. Don't be late. Get prepared early. Get to whatever building you need to be early. If you're going to a building, go to the building the day before and check it out. If you need to go on a Zoom link, then check out the Zoom link the day before. Like, star it. Don't be scrambling. Wake up early that morning. I'm sorry, people on certain sides of the country that are asynchronous with that of the actual meeting times. Wake up a little bit before, go on a little walk, get your blood flowing, get your brain on, get some sunlight in your eyes, and then get to your interview. Get a good breakfast in, get some coffee in your system, get your normal routine in, and then get to the interview on time. All right, next thing we're gonna go over, you're gonna wanna study your application that you wrote. You need to be a master of the things that you talked about. If they're gonna discuss a research project that you wrote hi baby, you need to be consistent with the things that you've said, and you need to be prepared to discuss anything they decide to talk to you about. If they want to drudge up that research project that you said you did in freshman year that was for 1,000 hours or something quite large like that, you best be prepared to explain it in detail. And this happened to me. They asked me about every single research project I put on my list. They would on the fly ask me stuff about community service, what I learned from it. You pretty much need to be prepared to write tiny little secondary essays directly to them should they ask it and explain any scientific concepts that might be pertinent to these things, which is also kind of fun. If you're passionate about the research you do, which a lot of us are, the next thing that I want you to be doing in order to master your medical school interviews is to start talking to strangers. Just start talking to anybody. Just be more chatty. By talking to more strangers in your daily life and not pissing them off and getting hurt or something along those lines, you're gonna start developing the ability to speak to strangers on the fly. Your basal metabolic rate will shoot through the roof. You'll be like, oh my God, I've been sitting in my room all day studying all the time and now I'm talking to a human being. This is crazy. Just doing it through experience is going to help you. Another thing you could do to prepare for speaking to people is to perform breathing techniques. Studies have shown that people who perform consistent breathing techniques have reduced activity in their amygdala. The amygdala, as we all know, is the seat of fear and anger in the human mind. What you do is you take a deep breath in like this. You know how to take a deep breath. Do I really need to show you? I'm gonna show you. You take a deep breath in like this and you hold it for 4 to 5 seconds. So in, hold for 4 or 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe it out, breathe it all the way out. Before you take the next breath, you hold on the downstroke. So breathe in, hold 4 seconds, breathe out. When you have no more air inside of you, you hold that for 4 seconds. Repeat that. Do that for 12 minutes a day and you will find a drastic reduction in the amount of anxiety you feel on a daily basis. I don't quite understand the mechanism of it, and I believe people are still figuring out the mechanism of it, but I've used it in big wave surfing and it really, really works. And it also just works in your daily life. You'll feel far less stressed on the daily when you're doing your medical school interviews. So do some breathing techniques. Next thing you're gonna wanna do is mock interviews. I did so many of these and they're so embarrassing, and somehow the residual of them still remains on my Google Photos.
As a result of disproportionate going out of insurance and for our country, I think that more people do need to be able to gain access.
It's disgusting to watch, honestly, especially the first few, and that is so important. You need to learn how to present yourself on camera. You need to learn how to set up a camera and look at the background that you actually have. You're gonna watch the video, you're gonna be like, wow, I say a lot, I say actually a lot, I say this, that, the other thing a lot, and I do all the time and still do, so I obviously haven't gotten over it. You will definitely get better at this in time. Bring up a list of medical school interview questions and you start recording and you, boom, look at a random one. And then you look at the camera and you just start speaking. It's totally okay to take a breath and think about it. People want to understand that you actually are thinking. However, don't do that thing where you're like, for every single question, you're like, that's a good question. Let me think about that. You are going to want to do a lot of mock interviews with yourself and with your family. The next thing you're going to need to do is ensure that you have a good internet connection. Make sure your devices are working properly, your lighting systems are good. Just try and foolproof every aspect of your interview before it comes up, guys, because I don't want you scrambling to connect to your internet or like something stupid happening right before your interview. That would be torture. You get 2 great nights of sleep. Sleeping does a few different things. One of which is it makes you look a lot better, look a lot more put together, and it also just makes you act a lot more put together. Studies have demonstrated that people who get more sleep, sufficient sleep, are able to successfully read the faces of those who they are communicating with, whereas those who get insufficient sleep are unable to successfully read people's faces, and that leads to improper social interaction. I want you to get 2 good nights of sleep beforehand so that you can be creative with your answers. REM sleep is extremely important in generating creativity and synthesized learning. And I want you to be able to learn from the stuff you're actually practicing. So get some good sleep, guys, beforehand. The next thing I want you to do, this is number 12, and if anybody cares, is I want you to prepare some really good questions, and everybody has already told you this. However, you definitely need them, and I actually somehow forgot, despite everybody saying it. There was like one where I was like, nope, I don't have any questions, even though like I should have had some questions. I'm gonna give you a question that I really like, which is, tell me something about this school that not many people know about that you really like. And I heard that from Dr. Gray when I was studying at Med School HQ. Check it out, guys. Such a good resource. Check out Med School HQ. And I think I asked that question in almost every single one of my interviews. Besides, like, if I was talking to a specialist, you know, like that in ophthalmology, which is the specialty that I want to go into, I asked that question so often, and I got such wonderful responses. I got this one response from this cardiologist, and this cardiologist was like, oh, like, what most people don't know about is we're a leading figure in cardiology. And then he proceeded to describe this beautiful procedure that he had done in cardiology that was absolutely amazing, and it really put a smile on his face to talk about that. You want a notepad with you. You want a notepad to write down things during your interview. It makes you look professional, and it also gives you something that you want a notepad with you. Take a notepad, a nice professional looking notepad. You could go to Goodwill, and for $4 you can get a nice leather bound notepad, which is what I did. I literally just went to Goodwill and I spent $4, and dang, what a deal I got. And then I just shoved some paper in it, and then I was like, oh, look at professional little me. I have my notepad. Then I would take little notes on it, which was perfect because then I could actually record all the things that people were telling me. If I have a personal connection with somebody, say like, you do bonsai gardening, I do bonsai gardening, what the hen, like holy hen, what the hoot is that business right there? And I could actually develop that human connection, and then in my email, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, you can respond and say like, yo, it was so cool that you like to grow houseplants and I like to grow bonsai trees. Like, how neat is that? The next thing, never look distracted. Never look at your phone. This is going to be a challenge. Things will happen that are not expected to you. When I was in one of my interviews, the door flew open and a puppy ran in, followed by my girlfriend Nicole, and I had to sit there stoic as could be while this maelstrom was erupting. This dog practically speaks a language of its own. Doesn't even speak dog. This thing barged into the room going as like my girlfriend was kicking over stuff and grabbed the dog and got it out the door and slammed the door. And I just had to be like, yeah, like I want to hear about this really specific thing in your school. Something's gonna go wrong, and just maintain your placidity, if that's a word. Don't be on your phone. Don't be looking around the room. Look right in the camera. Look at who's talking. Listen to the questions. Memorize everyone's name that you are interviewing with. That is a piece of advice that you will not get anywhere else. And I will tell you right now, it's a really good idea. When people are talking, you memorize their names. You memorize the name of whoever's talking, including the other people you are interviewing with, because you're gonna have to communicate with them in that weird thing that I forget the name of, that I'll superimpose over this image, where you have to communicate with the other medical students in order to solve a case study, which you can't actually solve. But don't worry about that. It's about the thought process, so don't worry about that. When you're doing that, memorize the people's names. Like, say Thomas is just speaking from South Carolina, and you're gonna want to know that Thomas is from South Carolina. You're gonna be like, Thomas, that was a good heckin' point there, right? Show that you're engaged. Show that you're actually communicating with human beings, because that is the point of what you're doing. A, it's so that you can show that you can hypothesize, and B, to show that you actually have an ability to communicate with other people. After your interviews, you're gonna wanna send everybody that you're interviewing with an email, just thanking them. Say, hey, Dr. Veronica, I just wanna say I had a fantastic conversation with you. Thank you so much for the book recommendation. I look forward to reading it. I appreciate your time and your consideration for going to medical school. I look forward to hearing about the results, and regardless, I appreciate the opportunity to interview. You want to thank them for their time, and that's the medical students that you interview with, that's the doctors, that's the admission staff, that's heckin' everybody you could think of, unless they tell you not to bother them, which will happen, in which case you don't bother them. Don't drink too much water. Don't eat too much. Don't need to pee or poop in the middle of your interviews. All right? Just suck it up and don't do that. Just like drink responsibly, my friends. If you are drinking water, drink it from a glass. Okay, this is a demonstration, and this is a piece of advice that I actually got from admission staff. Look at me drinking from this bottle. Also, I reuse this plastic bottle for everybody who cares. Look at me drinking from this. I look like a man drowning, which is kind of what we are when we're in this process. You have a glass. I look much more professional, right? When you drink from a bottle, you're sticking your gullet up and your Adam's apple or no Adam's apple or whatever you guys, blah, 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 blah. Don't do that. Be loving. Remember, this is why you're going into this industry. It shouldn't be an industry. This is why you're going into this field. It's because you're a loving human being. This will come across in your interviews. If you remind yourself that the only really thing you need to do in life is be loving to other human beings, which is honestly all we need to do in life, that's stoicism talking right through me, then it's gonna make it a lot easier for you to go through this process. Okay, the last thing that you need to understand about your interview is that you're going to kill it. You're gonna do so dang good. Really, and I need you to tell yourself that. Before you go into that interview, I don't want you to be sitting there like, I want you to, God, I spit everywhere. I want you to be like, this is gonna be great. Like, I've worked so hard. Like, this is the day I have. Be positive, be stoked. I want you to draw that surfer spirit. Catch the wave, ride it. God, I hate that I'm saying this to you right now. This is your opportunity to accomplish the next phase of your medical career. So that's everything that I have for you today. I appreciate you coming to my channel. Much love. Thank you so much. And you're going to kill an interview. And I'm stoked for you.